That was such a great look back at an action-packed weekend that got us to where we stand currently, which is the Warriors. They lead the Grizzlies 2-1. And then in the East, the Bucks, they're also up 2-1 on the Celtics. The Heat and the Sun series, those leads were erased this weekend. The Mavericks and the Sixers, they took care of home court, tied up their series at 2 games apiece. And a big reason why the Sixers were able to even their series was the late game performance from James Harden in Game 4. 4 points, 1 of 7 in fourth quarters this series.
That's not good.
Well, he was very good last night, Richard.
And it's so impressive. It's like you look at this, I think it was 11 games or 12 games that he hadn't reached over 25.
Yep.
And so he comes out and just dominates.
Ooh, there's a step back.
That's a step back. But this is the thing. This is who he has to be. This is who he's been for the last decade. Just a dominant player when you need him most and an unguardable player.
And then again, right here, blows by Bam Adebayo.
And that's what was missing. It was that first step. We hadn't seen that first step burst from him at all. And then catch and shoot.
All that is set up, though, by making his 3-pointers.
Mm-hmm.
Now they got to come up on him because he's going to hit that shot. You got to guard him.
And that was guarding him pretty well. And still, that's the James Harden we have come to know. 16 points in the fourth quarter. He finished with 31, and the Sixers win it. Here they were after the game.
It's just James being James. I said it before the game. I felt like he was going to have a big game tonight.
I mean, he's in this league for a long time. We all know what he's capable of.
It was his night tonight to carry us to a dub.
Head on me now, head on me now. I tell him head on me now.
I mean, that's the reason why he's here. He's been doing that his whole career.
I mean, it's pretty simple. I think just being aggressive, seeing who was out there defensively, and just trying to get to the basket and take the best shot available.
You know, when he's in a groove like that, we just give him the ball and keep it going.
So that's what everyone was saying after Game 4. But the question now, Ramona, is how sustainable is this?
I actually think that the way he played last night is sustainable because it wasn't that he all of a sudden got his burst back. It wasn't that he had an extra step on everybody. It's that he found a way to create space. Okay, and he has had no space the first 3 games of the series. Every single game, Miami's been giving him less and less and less space every time, especially when Joel Embiid is not on the court. Last night, he totally opened things up, mostly by making some of these shots. So when Embiid wasn't on the court, he hit 4 or 5 threes. When you make your three ball, everybody has to come out and guard you a little bit more. But he was having the least amount of space around him. I get that second section tracking data that he's had in 3 years in the first 3 games of this. He flipped that script. And some of that is him attacking, some of that is him making shots, and then Miami having to guard him differently. But if he just hits shots, which he can do, you don't need burst to hit shots.
Yeah.
If he can just hit more of his shots and they have to play him more honestly, then I do think that is sustainable because it's not about does he get that extra step back that he has clearly lost. This is now, can you evolve your game?
And you had a great piece on this where you said taking away space from James Harden, that's like depriving fire of oxygen. And that seems to be a perfectly apt metaphor. JJ, what did you see here?
Well, I think the big difference here was the step-back threes. He still struggled inside the line. He was 2 for 8. He hit 4 step-back threes. That's the most that he's hit in a Philadelphia 76ers uniform. This is only his second 30-point game, and I've said this for weeks. We need to view James for who he is now not the player he was, and he's still a fantastic player. He's still going for 20 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds in the playoffs on 59% true shooting because he can still get to the free throw line. I actually don't think James has to play this well offensively from a scoring standpoint for them to win, and the reason is Tyrese Maxey has absolutely killed in the playoffs, and Tobias Harris as your 4th option is giving you 18 and 8. Like, they are good enough to advance past the Miami Heat without James having to go for 30. Yeah, no, they are good enough, but we also understand that James Harden playing this style, and not the 30 points, but just the quicker you become quicker, the more shots that you hit. You know this, JJ. The closer you have to get to somebody, the quicker they become. So when he knocks down those shots, then all of a sudden those passes start to become easier. Open shots for his teammates. There's so many things that are predicated on this because if, like you said, if we want to evaluate him for who he is now,
then we still are evaluating because there's been a steady, consistent decline to this point, and now we've seen one uptick, and we have to imagine that he's going to go back to what we've seen over the past, let's say, 20 games. So that's when Tyrese Maxey, that's when Tobias Harris, that's when those guys have to step up, because we don't know if this is sustainable, because we have to go off what we've seen over the past, 6 months.
How many shots did he
heading
take?
back to Miami?
Yeah.
He had 18 shots. That used to be like a low number for him.
That used to be a first half.
Yeah.
That used to be a first half.
So we can call it efficient, but
Yeah.
on the other side of the ball, view of Miami, who had just a rough shooting weekend from deep, right? 7 for 35 from 3 in Game 4. That's after shooting 7 from 30 from downtown in Game 3. Duncan Robinson, he's played just 1 minute this entire series. So why is that? What are you seeing here?
Well, sometimes it can be matchups. It can be how you want to play. I still find this quite surprising, considering that Duncan Robinson has played in the NBA Finals. He's big shots in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, he's a guy that's proven that he can go play and knock down shots. And great shooters like that, it's not necessarily about whether or not they're hitting shots. It's about the space that they create for everyone else. He creates space because you're basically playing one-on-one with him. And it's just like Steph Curry. His movement will open up other shots and easier shots for his teammates. So while maybe they're not playing him because of his defense, his offense and what he can create for other people is special.
Shifting gears here.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Like,
he has 322 made three-pointers.
Yeah.
Career.
Shifting gears, former Michigan State star Adrian Payne was shot and killed in Orlando, Florida, early Monday morning, the Orange County Sheriff's Office said. And Payne was the 15th pick by the Atlanta Hawks in 2014, played 4 seasons in the NBA with multiple teams. In 2018, he was waived by the Magic after he was named in a report by ESPN's Outside the Lines that he'd been involved in an alleged sexual assault at Michigan State in 2010. No charges were filed in that case. Prior to playing in the NBA, Payne was a member of the All Big Ten second team in 2 of his 4 seasons with Michigan State. So Draymond Green, who was Payne's teammate for 2 seasons in Michigan, tweeted this. You can see the broken heart emojis on Monday. Payne was 31 years old. NBA Today. We'll be right back. Jokic, he was just playing out of his mind all season long. But the question that is circulating around everybody's minds right now is, even though he finished with career highs in points, rebounds, blocks, steals per game, his versatility being on full display without his running mate Jamal Murray, is should he have won the MVP? So, Ramona, I'll start with you.
Look, he is a worthy winner. I just think there were 3 worthy candidates this year: Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Nikola Jokic. And I think because Jokic wins, you can look at the advanced stats. I think it's going to go down in history as, okay, he won because of the advanced stats. That's how it's being written right now. But history should not always be judged 5 minutes after it happens. It can be judged 5 years or 10 years from now. I think Joel Embiid deserved to win. That's who I voted for. I think Giannis deserved to win. I think Jokic deserved to win. You showed one of the highlights from the Jokic playing against Joel Embiid, and he had the game-winning shot there. There was another play where Giannis went up against Embiid, blocked a shot at the end of the game. I know we all talk about advanced stats and all the other metrics that people vote on, but I think those 2 games, those 2 moments down the stretch actually really hurt Embiid's candidacy, in addition to the trade for James Harden, because that undercut the idea that he was the only guy carrying his team, right? And so these things are close, and we'll judge them 5 years from now, too.
Well, yeah, you can definitely judge them 5 years from now. I think when you look at this, there is no wrong answer. There is no wrong answer. And, Jokic, Giannis, Embiid. The one thing that for me as a kid that grew up watching this game, the fact that we are not going to talk about the MVP and we're here in the second round of the postseason, that to me, I always felt that was going to be the case. Last year when he beat Portland, the Denver Nuggets beat Portland, they cleared out all of Portland. They were like, yes, we like this team should not have beaten Portland. We're going to get rid of everybody. We're going to change everything. This year, you knew for a fact that it was going to be next to impossible for his team to advance.
Sure.
So I just look at that as like the MVP is also a promotion award for this league. And the fact that over the next 36 hours, that'll probably be the last time we talk about the MVP for the rest of the postseason. And that to me is just one of the things why I was like Embiid and Giannis, I had them a little bit in front of Jokic, even though their numbers weren't as great because of their teams.
JJ?
I would co-sign what both of them said, and I would also just add, in a normal season, you could make a strong case that Devin Booker should
Yeah.
have
Yes,
been the
facts.
MVP of the
You're right.
season. But the individual greatness, those three players, Giannis, Jokic, Embiid, they dominated. They dominated this year. And their teams were all good enough. And we can get into sort of different records, but when Jokic played, the Nuggets had a record that was on par with when Giannis played, that was on par with when Embiid played. I can't imagine what it must have been like. I do not have a vote. I can't imagine what it must have been like as a voter this year trying to decide between those three players. Had I had a vote, and we all know how I feel about my dear friend Joel Embiid, had I had a vote, I would have voted for Jokic. I think what he did this season was absolutely incredible, and he was the most valuable player in the NBA.
Yeah, Ramona, you're the only one on this panel who does vote.
Yeah.
I do not vote. Richard Jefferson does not vote. But this was an incredibly difficult
You
decision.
have to tell people
It
my
was.
business. Why do you have to tell people that I'm not?
I think it's
It's
important.
okay.
It's
It was.
transparency.
And by the
baby.
way, this hasn't been announced yet. This was just our Adrian Wojnarowski reporting it.
Sure.
So I'll be really curious to see what the actual vote totals are.
Yeah.
I'm really curious.
I
to
bet
see how
it's going
close.
to be a slim margin. But
No, I think Giannis closed the gap at the end.
Interesting.
And I'm curious to see where second and third come out too.
Ooh.
all right, well, let's